Greetings, gentlemen and ladies. Coach Clive Maxheath here, back on the video. Going to set myself a goal and aim of shooting a video a week moving forward. And today's video is for my fellow coaches, my fellow professionals. I'm going to be reporting on the U.K. ICF Conference, which was in swinging London town on Tuesday. The theme of the conference was dancing into the future. And for those who don't know or haven't heard of the ICF, they're one of the major coaching accrediting bodies. So they help authenticate, and they're looking at ethics and professional standards for coaching. And they provide accreditation services, both themselves through their own training programs and others. Anyway, the day itself, it was a cracking day uptown at the County Hall, great venue by the Thames. And my sort of general feel of the day, it was time well spent. And the theme dancing into the future was a cool one in terms of looking into the future. My three takeaways, my three big insights for the event were that let's start. Number one. The first session was a breakout session with a couple of guys from a company called Awiwi. They were 20-something, man and woman, and the theme of the session was millennials. And they spent some time both articulating some of the themes around this particular generation, and also touched upon what that can mean or could mean in terms of the coaching industry. And what was really interesting about their presentation is they weren't actual coaches themselves, so they were very much looking at it as outsiders. And as a result, were able to sort of, I think, provide some quite fresh ideas around how coaches can engage with people from this generation. And the way that some of the themes they covered, there were quite a few generalizations in their presentation, but a couple of things that they touched on. One was how this generation is going to be impacting the workforce in the near future. And one of their statistics was by 2020, 50% of the workforce will be classified millennials. And underpinning that was some of the things to consider around what millennials might need as potential coachees, and some of the ways to engage them. So one thing that was highlighted on numerous occasions was the millennials' general love for technology and interaction, particularly social media, and the engagement with others through various devices. They're not the only generation that does this, but obviously they've been born into it. And they talked about the movement away in the future and continuing away from websites to apps. And there was this idea that if as a coach, if you've got a website and you've got your email list, in sort of 3 to 5 years, you might find yourself somewhat redundant, at least for this generation, because they won't go to websites, they'll go to applications. And they'll look to engage maybe via messenger services or via a social media platform. So that was really interesting. They touched a bit on AI and bots, and the use of bots within sort of conversations, and how AI may be used in particular to create a more fluid coaching experience. And something they highlighted was that sort of people from this generation may be more inclined to want to be in contact more often, and require their coaches to be more flexible in their delivery. So there wouldn't be maybe such a hard line in terms of, right, okay, I'm seeing my coach now, then a 2-week gap, then I'm seeing my coach again. It would be more transient than that. And I thought that was really interesting in terms of potentially thinking about designing coaching packages for millennials and having more touch points and for it to be sort of maybe more consistent. The final thing that they talked about was what sort of millennials were looking for, the requirement for both them to be both complimented as well as challenged on a regular basis, be seen, as well as, and I think they bottom lined it the idea for the coach to create an experience for the client where the coachee is both enabled freedom, but with discipline. So this idea with freedom with discipline for millennials. So multiple takeaways really from that one session. It really was like you could feel it in the room. The coaches there, like, wow, this is really something quite different. And so yeah, that was kind of that was really interesting to see. And I know that I'm going to be giving more thought within my practice about how I'm going to engage with this particular generation. I think I'm a bit of a hybrid. I think I'm born in '81, so I'm sort of in between somewhere. I don't know what the official. They said '81, and I've heard it elsewhere that sort of millennials are classified '84 and onwards. But yeah, they also touched briefly on the generation behind the millennials and the sort of 7, 8, 9-year-olds these days who are not picking up books, they're picking up Kindles, and how they may interact with in the future. But let's just look at the millennials for the moment. So wow, yeah, rich session, as you can tell. Yeah, there's a lot there. Second major insight for the day, I attended a session on CPD and learning, and a bottom line statistic that came out of that was that coaches only, although they do a lot of learning, we like to learn, they only actually applied 12% of their learning. And there's this idea that we like to learn, we like to consume, like read it, and I know I'm guilty of this. Read a book, onto the next book, onto the next book. Oh, that course, do the course, keep going, and just keep kind of like sponging all of this learning. But what they were saying is that where obviously the value is then taking that into action and application in one's practice. And I thought obviously that bottom line statistic quite harrowing. And he did touch on some of the reasons that might happen. One is the pure availability of knowledge that's out there, particularly through some of the newer mediums, the digital mediums, whether that's sort of online learning or sort of access to books via Kindles and stuff like that. But he also talked through he had a system for sort of ensuring that one's learning does not get left on the shelf. And I know for me, looking forward, I'm going to look to integrate some kind of system where I can actually check myself on what I've learned and make sure that the bits that really stand out, and I in the moment thought, oh, I'm going to use that I actually have some accountability around using that. So that was the second learning. Really juicy session. The guy really knew his onions, and yeah, good stuff. And the third learning came out of a session that was focused on somatics and the use of the body in order to provide feedback and inform a coaching session. Now I'm a CTI trained coach, trained in sort of coactive coaching practices. I won't go into all of that, what that means, but if you want to find out more, Google coactive coaching, YouTube it, there's some information about what that means. So this wasn't new news for me, and I do encourage at times some somatics within my practice, not as much as maybe I might do moving forward. But he used the framework of drawn out of Jung. There's a very famous book on it. Can't remember the author right now. Of king, warrior, lover, magician. And he used music. He got all the coaches up on the feet, and we were in the room. And he used music to kind of get us into these different energies. And in doing so, got us to explore where we felt comfortable, and where we actually felt maybe challenged. And then he would challenge us to what's going on there and explore. And for me, I sensed for some of the coaches in the room, it was actually a really new area. Because there was some people that were really like, whoa, this is like quite out there. For me, it was a reminder of the power of the body, and particularly took me into sort of that kind of outside-in approach. Sometimes, that idea of faking it to make it. I've heard that mantra used on a number of occasions, but how one can potentially use the body and have ways and tools of accessing various energies that can really, maybe lead to some real growth. he then sort of reflected on it from a coach's perspective in terms of how a coach might work within these energies within a coaching session. So again, really powerful stuff. So yeah, I mean, those are my 3 big insights for the day from 3 of the sessions I went to. Other than that, it was a great networking event. Thumbs up to all the ICF UK team. They did really well. Probably the best food I've ever had at a conference. They had these sort of trays with multiple sections, and you eat some really healthy and tasty, nutritious food for lunch, which was great. And to bottom line, the closing note was delivered by this lady here, Hetty Einzig. She's on the front of volume 13, issue 2 of the Coaching at Work magazine. She delivered a very poignant and quite powerful ending closing note, and basically challenged the coaches in the room to stretch themselves as coaches and not be afraid to maybe go into areas that were a little bit more out there in terms of particularly anxiety, stuff that comes up quite a lot, and also challenge us to step up really at this quite key and pivotal time one is sensing in human history. We really are in completely new. We're always in sort of in new landscapes, but I think the way that the world is connecting and globalization and the speed at which things are changing, I would argue there's never been more of a need for coaches and a coaching approach to things, creating that space for people to really step out of the madness, the hustle and bustle, and get clear on what's really important. So she challenged the coaches in the room, and that was fantastic. So that was my review for the day. I'll post underneath the in the YouTube notes just the names of the people who delivered those sessions. If you do want to go out, if anything I said sparked interest, you can go and check out their stuff. Elsewhere, it was good to connect with Ramona in particularly from Wisdom Tree Academy. They do some a little trial. They do some really good, really well highlighted, and a number of coaches have done their courses, trainings, and so it's good to connect with her, as well as some other coaches. One of my CTI trainers, Nick, was there. So what up, Nick? Good to check in. We only connected briefly, but it was a nice moment. And all in all, a good day. I feel sort of recharged, like I've had my coaching shot in the arm, and I feel pumped moving into the year. So yeah, that's the update for me. Look out for more videos from me moving forward. This is one for my coaches. I will be doing some more stuff for men and women out there. I'm a men's coach, but yeah, there's stuff in my work for all humankind, and maybe some of the animals out there as well. Maybe there's some stuff I can teach your pets around, mindfulness and staying conscious. So yeah, if you want to connect with me, yeah, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter at Clive Maxheath, and of course the Men on Form podcast, myself and Michael, fortnightly podcast called Men on Form. We drop on iTunes, Stitcher. So yeah, if you jump on there, you'll find us quite easily. So I'm going to hit the road. I've got to get some dinner going and hit the gym this evening before yeah, getting set for a relaxing week. Actually, getting set for a relaxing weekend after last bank holiday, which was full on. So I'm going to leave it right there. Other than wish anyone watching this to take care, do and be well all. See you soon.